What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can.
Our number 2 is probably the only other quarterback on this list whose physical traits can even be in the same conversation as Lenora Sellers at 3. Dante, you mentioned him earlier. That's Drew Allar from Penn State. A lot of people like to throw out, oh, he looks like Josh Allen. He throws like Josh Allen for a lot of different quarterbacks. But all the quarterbacks we've seen in college football, who we've seen go to the NFL, since Josh Allen rose to stardom, Allar is closest in terms of his build and physical traits. I'm not saying they're similar in play style, not saying they're similar as prospects, but only similar in terms of the traits and the physical ability that you just can't teach. He has incredible size and arm strength, and he's a very willing runner. That's something that surprised me a lot this past season with Andy 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗧 coming in from Kansas as an offensive coordinator, right? He comes in and he's like, hey, Drew, I know that you're kind of like a pocket passer. I know that you're a big dude. We're going to use you in the option game. We're going to use you as a dual threat guy, right? Very different than what's his name? Jalen Daniels out at Kansas, where 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Nicky came from. But he still said, all right, Drew Allar, you are going to use your legs in this offense. And it surprisingly worked, right? Mm-hmm. I think for Allar, having this consistency of having a good offensive coordinator one year to the next is going to help him, because just constantly changing who your offensive coordinator is in your career it's never beneficial. And for Penn State, for a while, they've had some challenges in finding a consistently explosive option. I believe before 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 was Mike Yurcich, right, who spent time at Oklahoma State and Texas and all these other places. So for 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀 to be back, for Penn State to go out into the transfer portal and get a guy like Kyron Hudson, right, from USC.
And that was dangerous when I found that out. I said, oh my goodness.
That's gonna be a very big addition for this team after Drew Allar had really Tyler Warren as his primary receiving threat, and that was kind of it in terms of star power.
Right? Kyron Hudson is a confidence builder for a quarterback.
Absolutely. I mean, he balled out for USC and Miller Moss this past season. I want to see how Drew Allar does. He returns his dynamic duo in the backfield, Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen. Say what we want about them meeting versus not meeting expectations. Those are still two reliable veteran backs that any quarterback would ask for, right? I mean, you want to be able to have a reliable running game. You want to have that rapport with your running backs. You know how each other work. So for me, Allar suddenly, along with having, again, an elite defense like Penn State always does, Allar has everything that you could ask for. Dante, you said earlier that Texas is, a team that you got to have penned in as a national title contender. To me, I think Penn State has to be in that conversation as well, in being one of the top 4 or 5 teams in terms of title odds.
I said it a couple of weeks ago. I said it's hard pressed for me not to think that Penn State gonna win this whole thing this year.
Yeah, like Allar has all of the tools, and I just hope that 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, now that Tyler Warren, as special of a season as he had, now that he's in the NFL, I hope that 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 gets away from this odd, gimmicky offense that Penn State ran at times. I want to see him unleash Drew Allar and maximize his potential. I want 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 to realize I'm in the Big Ten with one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks that college football has seen in the last few years. Let me just unleash him on college football, on the Big Ten, on Ohio State. I don't need to run a gimmicky offense. I have all of this talent. Let me use it, make the most of it in a creative yet traditional way. So for me, for Penn State as a whole, the sky's the limit for them. And the reason why the sky is the limit is not just because of the talented roster they have, but it's because they have a quarterback whose personal limit is that same sky. For Drew Allar, he with a good year, not even just a great year, with a good year, he can cement himself as a number 1 prospect in this upcoming draft class.
And I think potentially going to be in this year.
What was that?
I was saying that was going to be potentially him this year.
Yeah, we talked about this on a show. If Penn State made a national title run, right, he could easily have been in the conversation for being a top 5 pick. For Drew Allar now, I think there's only one other quarterback in this class who, obviously we haven't mentioned yet, who could be solidified as the number 1 pick or a top 2 pick with a good year, not just a great year. I think every other quarterback on this list, they need to have a great year to be like a bona fide top 2 pick. Drew Allar and this next guy, they can have a good year. They have the physical traits and the proven production that NFL scouts are going to see and be like, yeah, this is a guy we can build our franchise around. And they're going to take him with the top 2 picks in the draft. Allar, though, I think that in terms of potential, he and Sellers might have the highest of anyone in this class.
For sure. Well, let's get into our number 1 guy, man. Not to mention 𝗕𝘂𝘂𝗀𝗶𝗲𝘀𝗀 is going there from Syracuse as well. And yeah, I kind of disagree with you, Torque, because when James Franklin seems to escape every single year by being in the Big Ten championship like every 4 or 5 years, and then the expectations for him go back low. It's kind of weird the way that they do things up at Penn State. They handle it a little different, but he has no excuses this year. I mean, everybody that needed to like come back, offensive line, all 5 of those guys are coming back. Both your running backs are coming back. Get Kyron Hudson. 𝗕𝘂𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 stays. Then you get Jim Knowles on top of that to solidify that defense. This is a championship caliber team, man. I don't know what people are expecting them not to do, but in this situation, I think Jim Knowles is going to listen to himself and not James Franklin, because the formula has worked since Oklahoma State to Ohio State to now at Penn State. You bring Jim Knowles in for his knowledge, not to tell him what to do with his defense. Like literally, James Franklin, the best thing that he could do is bring Jim into his office and says, how can you help me win? You pull me under your wing at this point in time. Make sure you show up the defense. I'll make sure that 𝗕𝘂𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 learns a thing or two about getting this offense together. First of all, you should be recruiting better wide receivers every single year. But if you're getting these 2 wide receivers out of the portal that are number 1 guys, it's going to make James Franklin think a little bit different on, like, maybe I need to go out to the West Coast or to Texas and learn how to pull. Actually, not the West Coast or Texas. What are we talking about? Go to Florida, where all the wide receivers come from. Florida is wide receiver U down there. Pull them. You need to pull something out your hat, man. You know why people don't want to go to Penn State? Because it's in the middle of nowhere and it's cold and people are not used to being in the mountains. It's a beautiful place, but you're not going to sell a wide receiver to come there and play football. You ever got hit in the elbows when it's cold? Yeah, it's pretty bad. Authentic says, still here listening. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for sharing it on Twitter, by the way. He said, Drew Allar is my favorite of this class. It's hard for us not to put him at number 1, man. He was only a couple percentage points off being number 1. Torque says this Penn State team is kind of like the Ohio State team from last year on paper. Veteran physical quarterback, 2-headed running back, Jim Knowles on defense, bro. That is, bro. You know what I'm saying? That is the correct answer. Devontae Ross from Troy came over as well. That's true. Depends if Penn State can produce another S-tier linebacker. Have you guys not seen LeVar Arrington's son out there making plays like the whole week?
I have.
Woo!
I have.
Bro, he's big as shit. Yeah, he's down in the number 11 too. Yeah, he's already looking really good. I don't like to see that from practice clips, but bro, he's out there with Nick Singleton and the boys at K-Tron at a, you know what I'm saying? We'll humble you real quick. And he's been doing just fine. He could go to Maryland and Virginia as well to get wide receivers. Florida. Let's just Tavon Austin, Florida. Florida kind of tough on Floridians, prefer to stay in the warm weather. Again, that's where good recruiting comes from, right? Or Louisiana. Louisiana is another wide receiver place. I mean, why do you think Keon Coleman went to Florida State? He didn't want to stay up there in Michigan State. The only other man that could pull somebody from the South and pull them north is that dude Brian Hurtline. I don't know how he does it, bro. I have no idea how he does this.
Bro does it time and time again, man.